Welcome back, Flyers Nitty Gritty fans, to Getting Gritty with It with your host, Yariv, Wolok, my partner in crime, Vasili Gianarakos. Vasili, welcome back, buddy. How you doing?
Doing well, Yariv. Hope you're doing good too. It's been a busy week, just work, lots going on. I got down to the Flyers Leafs game yesterday at Scotiabank Arena, so it was great to, get to cover the game and just see it from a different perspective. So awesome time, and lots to talk about with Flyers hockey. What do you think, Yariv? Just with everything going on lately, lots of news.
Yeah, man. Yo, first of all, congratulations, dude. Absolutely. Covering the game. It's not your first game coverage, but it's the first one with John Tortorella. And if you guys did pay attention, if you guys watched the YouTube video or any of the interviews, you can hear Vasily ask a question. Maybe I think maybe you asked a question after as well. You asked a couple.
Yeah, after for the post game, did the pre-game stuff. Got a couple questions with Travis
Yeah.
Konechny, Scott Lawton, Tippett. So a bunch of guys. So it was good to get to talk to everybody and just get some quotes on the game and just their different perspectives. So it was awesome. And I mean, you could see it all over Flyers Nitty too if you guys paid attention on Twitter, stuff like that.
Hell yeah. And we're just getting a little more international. And it's awesome you got that coverage. You ask good questions. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about. This game has been, or this game, these past few games have been interesting,
Yeah.
to say the least. And let's get right into it. Okay. Let's just get into the game. So right now the Flyers have lost 3 games in a row. The last 2 in regulation, the previous one to the Canes, 4-3 in overtime, then 1-0 to the Rangers and 5-2 to the Leafs
Yeah,
yesterday.
1 and 2. So 2 points, 2 points for OT losses, which isn't too bad, but still only 2 out of 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's not horrible, but I think it got worse
Yeah,
as the I guess the stint went on.
I
And I
agree.
say they probably finished slower than we expected, but I guess I don't know, you want to touch on the first game a little bit. Let's talk about the Canes game, the 4-3 overtime loss to
Yeah.
the Canes. Go ahead if you want to
Yeah,
get
sure. I
started.
mean, it was kind of a not a classic game from what this season's been so far, but I mean, it's been a lot of the mold that the Flyers have been playing with, right? They had a slow start, slow
Yep.
first, went down 2-0, battled back, showed that resilience that we've been seeing this season. Got some more extended shifts in the ozone second period, things like that. Like Carolina basically controlled play majority of
Yep.
the first, I'd say. Flyers controlled majority of the second, and even into the third created a lot of good chances. Like end of the second, Carolina kind of turned it on a bit too. But obviously, I mean, Carter Hart playing really great, so helping the Flyers with a lot of those point blank chances, things like that. There were some turnovers, but nothing crazy. In the third, they really had a chance to go 4-2 off a good play from Hayes to D'Angelo up in the slot. And then Ranta makes a save. And then, I mean, Nate just comes in and kind of ties it up with about a minute left. And he rips one on Hart there. And then in overtime, it's just unfortunate. I mean, they almost got to the shootout there. But I think that's probably even Tortorella was kind of mentioning it was probably their best game of the season. And I would say it's pretty close, like just in terms of almost full 60 minutes, but also not really losing the territorial battle too much. It was even, right? Like Carolina had some shifts, Flyers had some shifts in the offensive zone, but it wasn't like crazy to the point of like that Rangers Leafs game where literally those teams are in the Flyers zone like the whole game. So I think
Yeah.
like that's probably a game I'd say John Tortorella is looking to replicate. Like if he's going to the guys in the locker room and picking a positive out of the last 3 games, like well, that Carolina game, they're a real good team, and we controlled a lot of that game. We arguably probably played better than them should have won. Even Rod Brindamore said that. So I think that's something to point at for the Carolina game, that like maybe that's the way they need to play to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that's really well said. That's kind of what I was hinting to, right? It's like they actually started off. I truly believe the Flyers should have won that game. I think they were the better team in
Yeah,
that game.
Carolina. I
I,
agree.
I
Yeah.
the majority, I think they kind of blew it at the end. I think they played well enough, but again, Carolina is a highly skilled team. They can score in an instant. It's not surprising that they were able to do what they were
Yeah.
doing. Like, let me
Yeah.
make that
And
clear.
I mean, if you look at the depth matchup too, right? Like they probably have more top six forwards right
I
now, just based
mean,
on the healthy aspects, right? So
that's not even a debate. But just overall, they have the ability to do that, right? To pretty much any team in the league. So I just think the Flyers played well enough to win that game. It is the epitome of what this team can be. with the injuries that you're talking about, they still lack a lot of elements here, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, I think that you did a really good job explaining the 4-3. And I guess let's get into the Rangers game real quick. Rangers come back with a game where, I think they played decent in the first. I think their second period they were god awful. Truly god awful in the second period. And then I think they had a pretty decent performance in the third period, but end up blowing that one. Late, obviously, getting credit for it. It's cool.
Get a point, but
yeah, and a game that Carter Hart was. It was really, I would say, the best part of that game is watching Carter Hart. I wouldn't say he outplayed Shesterkin because Shesterkin was not tested.
The goalie battle's always fun.
Yeah.
The goalie battle's always fun. For me, you see two really good goalies like that. Like, I'm a goalie guy, so I'm like, okay, 0-0 game. Some people might find it boring, but I'm like, I want to see a lot of saves. I mean, the thing is, when you're the Flyers, it's almost like you wasted a game for Hart, like a perfect game almost from him, right?
Well, yeah. I think that's well said, right? Because it's, that's why you're kind of like, you guys
gotta win
just
those
like a little bit better for him.
Yeah.
And they really didn't. Though I do think Shesterkin played exceptional in the times that he had to. It's not like he
some big
showed
saves
weakness.
on Hayes.
But it's nice to see that measure, right? Because it's a reminder that Shesterkin put up those ridiculous numbers. His team is also pretty talented. Like, they're not devoid of talent here.
They got good players.
They're also a very good team. But yeah, goalie duel, dude. I like the way you were saying that.
Yeah, it was an interesting game. I mean, like, the first period, they started a little slower, but it wasn't anything crazy in terms of like getting dominated. But
it was a little boring.
Yeah, I was actually saying that when I was watching it. I was like, you know what? It was a low event first period, not much going on, and then really throughout the game, obviously, there's not a goal until overtime. So when there's not a goal,
not a good sign for the Flyers when it's low event.
Yeah,
not this team.
No, yeah, they need to kind of be. I think at least on the physicality, on the aggressiveness, on the forecheck. Yeah. The thing is, if it's low event to the sense where, like, there's not scoring opportunities, but they're still getting in on the forecheck, like, at least there's like a energy about them. I think that's a good thing. But I just think the energy was kind of lacking until the third. Right, they had some scoring chances. Kevin Hayes on the breakaway, some opportunities. Shesterkin, like I said, key saves at key times. Same with Carter Hart, key saves at key times. A little help from the post here and there, but I mean, when you're good, you're lucky. So
yeah,
that's a good philosophy to have. The overtime was a little interesting too. I just think
entertaining.
It was good. Yeah, lots of back and forth. I just thought the way they gave the goal up, like kind of Hayes, Konechny, Provorov on the ice, the way they rushed up the ice together and then nobody came back. I'm just wondering.
But like, that's why the game pissed me off.
Yeah, dude. 3-on-3 because like you played so well defensively too, like getting back most of the game, and then that's the one play you miss and it costs you, right? So.
Well, okay.
But also just
being outplayed in these games statistically is a sign of not having enough talent in your lineup, right?
True,
like getting outshot and all that. But losing these games actually wasn't.
Yeah,
like losing it was because we played like dog shit in moments. And yes, some of it is talent related. And
some bad decisions too, I'd say.
I think it was more noticeable in the Leafs game. Though obviously we don't have anybody like Panarin in the lineup. We have
or Matthews.
Yeah, we don't have that low. Like we don't have a Claude Giroux here anymore.
Well, it's got to be a 5-man. This is how it has to be this team. It has to be a 5-man unit. It has to be everybody on the same page. Everybody contributing.
Agreed, but my point is, like, we don't. That the X factor we have on offense is Travis Konechny right now. Well, I want to talk deep in him. He is developing into that. But I think he always kind of is. He's still pretty young. But we have Sean Couturier, who when he's on his game, even if he's not doing spin deeks, or he's dominating because he's moving around people, like he has dominant
in different ways. Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, puck possession wise, he can be
dominant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And he can control the play in a zone and help with zone entries, help with sustaining forecheck, and that's what they're lacking really. So
yes. Absolutely. And let's use that segue into the 5-2 loss to the Leafs, where Frost is and Braun, and we'll talk at the specific about Braun. But I think we can actually talk about this right now.
Yeah, sure.
I'll move it up with the Frost thing, because Frost being benched in between games, and
it's not a good thing.
It's not a good sign for his relationship with Tortorella. But give me 1 second. I mean, I understand where Tortorella is coming from because I was actually watching that game against the Rangers and I was thinking about Frost, not in the sense where I'm like, oh, he looks so much worse than everybody else. I'm kind of like, where are you right now? Like, not in the sense like, yo, you're bringing us down or you're holding the team back. It's more of like
This is
this
your
team.
chance. This is your chance.
It's not. It's not even that this is your chance. Is that we've talked about this a lot, Vasili. There are roles on this team. There are three players on offense. Okay, maybe four, healthy right now, who can drive play. One of them is Morgan Frost, and we're talking about like guys who drive play because they are playmakers. Right? They enter the zone. They shift the puck. He is one of those guys.
He's not showing it really.
And he's not, he has moments where he does it, but he's not doing his role.
It's not consistent. It's not consistent enough. And that's kind of what Tortorella is touching on, right?
That's your role. And if you're playing the role of a bottom six forward, then okay, we have more physical players.
And we'd rather use them there because they're probably going to be better defensively,
because
potentially.
They're just going to forecheck.
You know, though, you know what? Frost has been pretty decent in his own end. He hasn't been bad. It's just, I really think it's a results thing. And it's kind of Bill Meltzer alluded to it. Like Tortorella is looking for results. And the bottom line is he's not scoring points. So,
well, look, while everything is fair, it's not, Tortorella benched our two highest point producing players in a game we were already down a forward. He is proving a point. He is literally, he is pushing Frost to be like, yo, dude, like I get that you can just do what I tell you to do. I need you to be a puck mover. You're on this team to be a point producer.
I was gonna save this like quote for later, but I think it's kind of
relevant now.
Yeah, probably. Relevant to the point.
Because the way I'm talking.
So basically, I mean, last night, this is one of the questions I asked about positives to Tortorella, and I mean, he kind of got into how he saw a lot of guys showing effort. He saw a lot of positives in certain players responding to certain adversities in certain situations, and that was a really good sign for him. But he also said it's another aspect of it is seeing guys who aren't responding, and we're weeding out maybe the guys that aren't going to fit here. I'll go into the quote. Here it is. So I'm not going to name names. I'm really happy about how some guys, their effort tonight, how they handle certain situations. But on the other side, there's some situations that absolutely disgust me. Those are the things we have to work through. When you're building a team, you're not only looking to build and grow your players, you're also looking for players that you simply don't think are going to be a part of it. That separates itself as you go through all this process. So that's a part of our job to separate that. So
we do want to make that clear that was after the Leafs game.
5-2.
Where Frost did not play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I do want to make that clear. The comment is not directed at him specifically.
No. It's not directed at him exactly. I'm just wondering in general, like how that plays into Frost and if the benching, I mean, correlates just to the fact that, like, you know what, like we need you to be an offensive guy for us. We didn't have a good offensive game. Like, so this is challenging you coming up when I get you back in there. Like, show me what you have.
I personally don't think that comment was directed at any single one person.
No, it's probably most of the team in general. That we need to be better, right?
Yeah, I think it was him just making a statement where it's just a brash statement where because think about it, the night before he goes, I can't question anybody's effort. The effort's there.
Yeah, that's true. He said that in this press conference after the Leafs game as well.
That's what I'm saying.
There, they're trying, but just the execution isn't, unfortunately.
But again, the comment that he threw out is not a comment on it's people's effort and willing to buy in, right? Yeah. So that's more of a threat towards the team. They're like, hey, I will praise you publicly because you work hard, but like everybody here is on. Like, I think he's kind of letting everybody know, like, people are trying to get these like definitive, and I'm not saying you that this is not you, but I noticed it's like we're trying to get like a definitive answer here, and he is not even. He's like dodging and weaving, and he's like, I'm not gonna tell you anything. Like, I'm not gonna tell you what I think about this team, how good they are, who I think is gonna be a star, who I think is the leader. He is not really telling.
More like a wait and see,
well, he's kind of just playing mind games. Constantly.
Yeah, but he's certainly challenging some guys. Like, there's probably some guys on the team that they think that's probably directed towards them, most likely. But that's the point of the statement, right?
That exactly, because the point of the statement is for you to look at yourself
and be think like, oh shit, he's talking about me. Yeah.
Yes,
and then you think yourself as no, probably not for a majority of guys, but there might be a couple people he's probably thinking to himself, I need more.
Sure. But that like, what is he gonna do? Trade everybody? He's saying it's gonna be a long process. It's gonna take a while.
Exactly.
He said all these already. He's never said, "Oh, we're doing great," and they all let me down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think happens with something? Excuse me. What do you think happens with something like Frost, where they go out the next night? It's another indication where you really need a guy like Frost when he's on his game. A night like last night, that's where you need a guy like Frost,
especially to compete with a team like Toronto who has a lot of offensive depth. So you need guys to be able to match up, right? So.
Vasili, he has these skills. I'm not saying he's John Tavares, but the guy's got hands. He dangles.
He has hands. He speed, like when he's with the puck. Some of the high IQ creative plays, some of the vision plays like are really good. For me, it's just a big message because he's from Toronto, right? So like he got scratched coming home to his hometown. Like that's a big message. I don't know if that factors into the coach, but like that's
definitely
a big message.
Dude, he's playing mind games, man.
I don't know if he is. I don't know if people know as well. Like his father,
Andy Frost.
He's a legendary. Like
follows me on Twitter.
Used to do the Leaf. Yeah, used to do the Leaf post games. I remember when I would go to Leafs games, like Leafs Flyers games as a kid. Me and my dad would go cheering on the Flyers, and we listened to the post game. It would be Andy Frost. So I'd imagine like that's a hit like to them probably because they probably want to see their son play things like that. Like that's a big thing, and I think when Frost gets back in there, I'm interested to kind of see how he responds.
Well, I think that's all Tortorella is interested in, is just to see how you respond. And
Justin
everybody,
Braun. Sorry.
Well, I want to talk about Frost just a little bit more because he's so important to get going. All right. So I want just before we move on, and then I do want to talk about Braun. So, and shout out to Jim of High and Wide. I was actually listening to him, so all credit to him for bringing this up. I think this was a really solid point. I really enjoyed his analysis here. And
Frost is creating chances, I'd say. Right?
Well, the criticism of Morgan Frost is when he was coming, and this is unfair, but he was compared to like Claude Giroux, right? In the sense that he had these really high-end numbers, and he has a skill set, similar size, and he's got kind of like a similar skill set. And, a lot of that was coming in, But think about like Claude Giroux when he came in the league, when he came in early at any point, he always had snarl. Same thing with like Farabee. Like these guys have like snarl and bite to their game. There has never been one point at any time. Not exactly. Not one single time. When Jim said that, I was like, dude, he's spot on. Yeah. And that is Frost's problem. It's his assertiveness. It's his aggression.
Maybe that's kind of what Tortorella's. Maybe that's kind of what Tortorella's trying to develop and push him. Like, I think he's trying to push him, right? Like,
get angry, dude.
Show it to me, or else you're. Fight for your role, fight for your spot, fight for your opportunity. Fight for your opportunity. The thing is, what I don't understand is like if you're from his perspective, like this is the perfect opportunity just because there's no second line centers. Like you can literally cement yourself as an NHL second liner right now. So
you should be stealing the top power play spot.
Yeah,
right now,
or trying to because that's his skill set, right? Is to be that power play guy.
They set him up, which I actually really like the idea of him passing to Farabee.
Farabee, but it just never established anything, unfortunately.
I think it was okay on the power play, but like it's the 5-on-5 tenacity. Like you have the skill.
It's lacking.
He's not doing anything wrong. Like that's what he doesn't understand. And I think that I would imagine this is maybe where he is having a problem understanding because he's probably like, well, I don't get it. Like, what am I doing wrong? Nothing. It's nothing to do with you doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
He's trying to get something out of you. Look, I would literally say, like, I love what Jim said. Like, go watch Claude Giroux play. Go watch the shift that Claude Giroux had on Crosby. Show me, do you have anything like that in you at all? Not that you have to be this guy. Find out why Giroux, the guy same size with you, has no problem lining up Sidney Crosby, leveling him, and then coming in and ripping a shot and being fired up and getting, you know what I mean? Like those moments, that Scott Lawton energy, right? That's why Lawton has an A on his chest.
Yeah.
It's that snarl. That's why McEwen, who, let's talk about the Leafs game for a second, was playing top 6 at some point. He absolutely should not be in the top 6.
No, he shouldn't. Yeah. But honestly, he probably shouldn't even be on the third line. Should be on the fourth line.
100%.
Let's be real.
I like him, and I think
he's trying very well. He's trying hard, man. You could tell the guy has
fourth line player. Game, like, if he plays the way he's playing, fourth line, there's absolutely nothing.
If he's on your second, he's on your
very
line,
good fourth line.
You know what? This is the thing. If there's nothing wrong with Zach McEwen, love the guy. Always puts a lot of effort in. Like you can visibly see that he's trying very hard on the ice when he's playing. So that's like kudos to him, right? Like he's put the work in to get to this point. Be an everyday NHL guy.
He's an effective forechecker.
Yeah, he's an effective forechecker. Like I said, perfect for a fourth line, right? But if he's on your second line on a consistent basis, that does not bode well for your team's chances of winning a lot of games. Yeah, it's true. I mean, before kind of we dive right into the Leafs, I just wanted to say, I know Braun got scratched. Yeah, Zamula and Sealer as a pair. I just don't think that is really a knock on Braun or anything. I think it's just like back-to-back. He's a veteran, maybe a little break.
I think the Braun thing had absolutely to do with giving him a rest.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe. I don't know. Here's the reason I say that is because Tortorella publicly praised Sealer for being one of the most conditioned players on the team.
So he's not taking him out.
So he probably looked between the two of them and went, well, Braun's a little older, Sealer's in his prime, and he's well conditioned.
We needed to get Z back in, so let's just put him
Braun's
in.
And
it's a back-to-back. Yeah, and it's a back-to-back. So like Tortorella's kind of saying he wanted to get Lazinski and he wanted to get in the pregame he wanted to get Zamula in because the fresh legs.
And you're not going to sit Sedlak because Sedlak has outplayed Frost, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's been pretty good. I mean, so yeah, we'll get into the Leafs.
Been awesome.
We'll get into the Leafs stuff. I mean, I asked Tortorella like before the game how important it is for a fast start, and he was kind of saying like the thing for them is just we don't want to make any big mistakes, so we really just want to be simple to start, hit some people, getting on the forecheck, which is what they did do. They had a quick start. Really, their first only extended zone shift in the offensive zone against the Leafs ends up in a goal, and the rest of the period they're in their zone the whole time essentially. 3 penalties, which is contributing to a lot of that, right? You're on the PK for about 6 minutes there. They do go 2 for 3, which, I mean, they had some good penalty killing looks to start off. Like, that's a really talented power play. You got Nylander, Marner, Matthews, so like Tavares as well. So like that's like 4 guys that are scoring over 70 points a year. So that's like a hard power play to stop. So like for them to go 2-2, tough, and then they get kind of a soft call on Deslauriers on the trip. I think
there were some soft calls early.
That was pretty soft, and then they give up the goal to Matthews there. I mean, Sandstrom made some big point blank saves, things like that. And then from there, really, it's just the Leafs kind of dominating.
Second period again.
Yeah, like
awful.
Yeah, in the Flyer zone most of the time.
Awful.
They go up, 2-1 already. The Flyers don't allow a goal in the second, and kudos to Felix Sandstrom because he made some pretty big point blank saves. They were very sloppy with turnovers, a lot of odd man rushes against him, and he came up large. And you got to feel bad for him because even Scott Lawton said this in the post game that the 3 games in a row where they're giving up 30.
It's every game that they played in front of him.
30 plus shots, right?
Going back last season,
he's given them a chance to win. Yeah, I agree. Going back to last season, and then you get to the third period, and they kind of, they go down 3-1. They do score a goal. Owen Tippett on the power play there, and that was a really nice goal, really nice shot. He places the shot right in between the blocker and the pad. So like, that's a goal scorer's goal. That's where they're usually aiming for. And you could tell the velocity on the wrist shot as well. So like, it's great to see two goals for him in 3 games since he's been back. So. That's pretty great to see, and that's something you want, right? You're hoping that he becomes a 25 goal plus guy for you. So like it's trending in that direction because he's been impressive. I would say him and Konechny probably the most noticeable forwards last couple games. But yeah, they just couldn't withstand the Leafs offense. Like there's not enough puck possession, and then when you're defending all the time, the thing is that's where the momentum gets you, right? So like literally what's happening is the Leafs are in the Flyer zone all the time, just constantly generating momentum for themselves. They can't get out of their own zone. It just ends up being an endless bout of scoring chances against, and you're never having the puck. So how are you going to create scoring chances for yourself? And that's kind of the pattern, right?
100%, dude. And we were texting each other. It's funny. We were literally texting each other the exact same thing that was going on in the game. We're like they're allowing him in the zone. It's like, but again, I know most people. I know what most people's opinions are because I listen a lot and I read a lot, but I just don't comment as much outside of this podcast anymore. But Look, I get where people are coming from. We said this, even the Flyers are doing well. Like, enjoy it. It will be ups and downs.
Yeah.
Like, the Flyers played poorly in those times.
But they had a chance to win all these games.
Well, that's my point is, like, don't confuse the play on the ice with the skill level.
Yeah.
I understand that they don't have a skill level to come in and outskill teams, but they played like shit.
Oh yeah,
in those periods. They're capable of much better than that. That was the whole point of the Canes game, a game where the team is probably more talented than the other two teams, even though all three teams are good enough to win a Stanley Cup talent-wise. And you saw the difference of just the way you play. And it wasn't just Carter Hart. Carter Hart, is still part of this team. It's not just Carter Hart. They play different. They're not giving Felix Sandstrom the same opportunity.
The sustained puck control just isn't there, right? And then your goalie is just forced to make save after save after save. You just can't keep operating like that and expect to be successful. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's not just it starts in their zone though. Like, they're literally not able to collapse around guys. Like, they're
not supporting each other well enough, really.
Exactly. Sorry, continue, please.
Yeah, they're not supporting each other well enough in their own end, and it's just leading to them constantly being there. But also, what it is too is it's just the inability. What I'm seeing is they're not transitioning up fast enough sometimes, and then when they are transitioning up, it's getting intercepted and then just right back into it. So, like, there's just no flow to the game. Like, there's no way for them to break out, and the lack of flow is hurting them because when they do get in the offensive zone, they haven't been there all game, so they're cold. They're not creating those chances that you would typically see. So, like, you have to have more offensive zone time just as a base and a foundation, just so when you do get there, you know, you're pressuring defensemen, you're putting pressure on the other team, because if you're not there at all and you're not pressuring the other team, chances are, like, it's a bend not break situation, right? When you constantly pressure a team, eventually they're going to break. If you only do it a couple times a game, it's not going to be effective. So
no, you're absolutely right, and I think let's look at the performance D'Angelo had, where he got worse as the games went on, and I thought his game against the Leafs was by far his worst. I thought he played well against Carolina, played okay against New York, and then played terrible against the Leafs. And again, yes, he played terrible, but I look at the way the team played. It was also their worst game. This is what I say. Offensive defensemen get exposed at these times when the team is playing a mess. Like, it just, everything breaks. And it sucks because you said Sandstrom played really well. He's a really good goaltender skill-wise.
In the game, like, it was 3-2 with about 10 minutes left and it just unraveled. They couldn't sustain it anymore. Like, just damn broke, right?
Yeah, he's not Carter Hart, top 1%er in the league, but the guy's got some skill. In no way has this been his fault. Yeah, he's already an NHL backup. He's playing at that caliber.
I feel bad because he hasn't even gotten an NHL win yet, so you hope they can get him a win. You know what? You have to factor into, like, it is a back-to-back. They got in late into Toronto the night before. They didn't play well at all.
He knows, dude.
Yeah. The thing is, they didn't play well at all, but I just think, like, the back-to-back, I don't know if they have fresh legs. I don't know if it becomes 5-2 is what I'm saying. Like, they might not win, but I don't know if it gets to that point.
You're probably right. Let me ask you something. What do you think about the Tavares beauty that he scored, which is quite frankly, one of the most beautiful goals I've ever seen.
It's a really good goal. Like, very, like, more than a really good
hat
goal.
Trick.
Like,
that was the hat trick goal, right?
Yeah, hat trick goal. He undressed the Sanheim, already having a perfect game, pretty much, right?
Like 13 minutes of ice time at 4 points.
Crazy. Even contributed on the power play for them. But just on that goal, what you saw is, Tavares is coming back, really puts it through Sanheim's legs. Basically, Sanheim kind of went to be aggressive on him, didn't make the right read, gets it through him. The thing that is frustrating, though, is Sandstrom saves the initial shot. So even if Sanheim gets beat there, it's not really a big deal. But, like, someone has to be there to support Sanheim, even though he made a bad
walked
play.
Right in front of the net afterwards.
Yeah, like somebody needs to be there to help Sandstrom clear the porch. If somebody's just there to stop Tavares, it's not a goal. Like that shouldn't be a goal. So just your coverage is missed.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I get it. I get that Tavares is capable of deking and dodging.
He should have the opportunity to be there in the first place.
Especially past the Sanheim. And you saw Tortorella freaking out And yeah, I'm sure he's upset that Santam got beat. He's probably pissed off at everybody else for not collapsing around or somebody getting a stick, something. And that's where I don't think it's acceptable to me.
No.
We talked about this. Well, we talked about this. Sorry, we talked about this quite a bit. That when this team plays well, if they're devoid of talent, they will lose games by 1 goal. They will just lose if they're on their game. And you won't be upset about those losses. We've seen them.
Yeah.
Carolina being one, right?
Yeah.
Then you see a game like this where you're like, this is a game where you did not play your best.
No, because I mean that's not John Tortorella hockey to let opportunities
exposed.
like that in front of you. Yeah, exactly. Let opportunities like that in front of your own net. You're not collapsing back. You're not supporting, each other as a 5-man unit. Just in terms of like, you didn't see anybody or any of the forwards pressuring Tavares as he's coming into the zone there. He just has a free lane to come in and walk Sanheim because you have another Leafs guy coming into the net at Ristolainen.
Yeah.
There's really no coverage. And then Ristolainen's holding up the other Leafs guy. So he has nobody to clear. He can't clear Tavares out because he's engaged with another player. I mean, you could say, well, maybe you should focus on the puck more, but like you can't leave another player open going to the net because that same thing could exactly happen, even if Tavares doesn't get there, right? 100%. Score one on the rebound. So you need the forwards to come back and help there. I mean, that's when they've been playing well. You've seen that, right? You've seen the forwards coming back. I think you know what, we got to see kind of how they respond. I obviously don't think, based on the press conferences, that John Tortorella is very happy with the way they're playing. No. He wants to see improvement. So
were you happy with the way they played?
No, I don't think they played.
Carolina was.
Carolina, I thought was their best game of the season. Yeah. The Rangers game, I hated it. Yeah,
I loved Carter Hart's performance. I hated it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it was a Carter Hart show. I like the goalie battle, but I would say.
But we already know Hart can do that.
Yeah, it was an extension.
Like, I get it, but
it was an extension. That play almost was an extension to the Leaf game. Like the play from the Rangers game carried over and got worse in the Leaf game. Just like the same things and the trends that were happening in the Rangers game where basically they're stuck in their own zone most of the game, have no puck control, no puck possession, no extended offensive zone time. That's what's happening in the Leafs game, just at an even more enhanced rate. Like they're just trapped in their own end. That has to stop, right? Like if you're going to see any chance of being competitive in these games and not leaving your goalies out to dry, like they just have to at least get in the offensive zone. It doesn't have to be high quality danger chances every time, but just a little bit of a forecheck, right?
Yeah,
that's what you got to see.
100%. And I guess let's get into specific players because we got a bunch of players to talk about specifically. But I do want to talk about Carter Hart before we get into the actual skaters.
Yeah, we
mentioned him a little bit, but I'm just gonna read your stats out here that you had written. 943 save percentage, a 2.10 goals against, and a 502 record to start the year. Carter Hart is what he is at this point in his career, which is what he was last year and the year before, which is a star goaltender in the National Hockey League with the ability to become a franchise goaltender. When I think we're watching him step into that category. And if this team can really play defense, like truly learn how to play defense, we'll see that reflected in his numbers. He'll be a competitor every year for top goaltender of the year, regardless if the team is a Stanley Cup contender, or just at the very least, can they play defense around him? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, pretty much. Give him some help. And what's also a great thing to see with Hart is just obviously the great play is amazing. Good positioning, good rebound control. He's been sharp in all aspects of his game, but just his calmness, right? Like he just doesn't seem phased, even when it's things kind of seem like they're collapsing in on him with the defense or certain plays in front of him. He's just very calm in that, and I think that's a really good sign that he's very collected.
I'll be honest with you, I do kind of I'm not crediting John Tortorella with Hart's performance, but I am gonna give him credit with the way he's handling the goaltender, at least from my perception of it. The idea that he's saying, I don't even understand the position, I'm just letting.
Here's the goalie coach, who was a goalie,
Which he's like straight up telling you, like, I'm not gonna play mind games with my goaltender.
Yeah,
you're the starting goal. Yeah, he said early that's our starting goaltender. He didn't go like, oh well, we'll see. Maybe can somebody. He's like, nope, you demand. Like, do your thing.
Yeah, like because I mean, it's such a pressure position. That's the last thing you want to do to a goalie.
And you notice that the way he speaks about Carter Hart and Sandstrom. He's not out there like ripping goalies. Like he's like, he's like, what a terrible, like I can't even say anything. What? Oh, this hockey genius can't say anything about goaltenders.
Yeah,
he knows what he's doing. You can't. It's a mind game, right? As a goaltender.
It's calculated. It's calculated.
Like, okay, well,
I would definitely say
if you were worried about the goals that you gave up, not that
yeah.
you're like, oh, am I
Once
a good
you
goalie? Or is it, oh, am I gonna have
yeah
to hear it about this goal and this goal and this goal?
yeah. But the thing is when you're a net is once you're thinking about the fact that the last goal, then it's just downhill from there. You can't ever
Right.
think about the last goal. You got to just say, you know what, that went in. I gotta think about the next shot. I gotta save it. Once you start dwelling on the past goals that you've let in, it just usually unravels. That's
Right.
my experience with it because it's just when you're pointing out, it's just like goal is such a confidence position. Like if you're not out on your angles, if you're not confident in your positioning in net, and you're thinking that oh shit, like I'm letting them in everywhere, um, then it's just gonna really unravel for you. And then you see
100%.
that in the way Carter Hart kind of responds to interviews where he says, you know, like yeah, I let a bad goal in maybe here, but I just put it behind me, and then next shot I'm gonna save it.
So,
Yeah.
so imagine now he's trying to put it behind him, but the
And
coach
then the
is
coach is
not.
bringing it up.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's why I love that he's
And then
just.
you're wondering, yeah, then you're wondering in the back of your head too as a goalie, like, oh, if I let him, all these shit goals, like what like am I playing the
He's,
next
but that's
game?
why I
What's
love that
happening?
he's going to do.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm letting them do their thing. And dude, our
Yeah.
goalies, they've all played well.
Yeah, I agree.
All of them,
Even
including
Urson, dude.
Grosnick. Maybe
Grosek hasn't been
Grosnick's not
bad, yeah.
that good, but he's
He's
been
been good
good
in
in the
the A though.
AHL.
He's been good in the A, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Goaltending has not been an issue here, and that's
Yeah.
really nice. And okay, so we talked about Frost, talked about Braun. Let's talk about Tippett. Mentioned him a little bit
Yeah.
already, but I mean, I have to say I'm really happy with him. I'm actually he's the only one in the Maple Leafs game. Not the only one, but he's
Him
one
and
of the only.
connecting.
Yeah, he's one of the
Yeah.
guys in that Maple Leafs game where I felt his game got stronger as the game went
Yeah.
on, and he
He's very
wasn't one of the only.
noticeable.
Yeah, he was driving play,
Mhm.
which he has the ability to do. Which man, God, this team we just don't have enough horses right now. But he did look really good. I mean, let's hope he
Yeah,
can
I
keep
agree.
it up. I mean, his ceiling is still.
Very high.
I'm not gonna lie. He changed up the lines. I kept thinking in my head. Tortorella
I
did.
liked it, to be
It's
honest.
time.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have to separate Hayes and TK. There's not
Yeah.
enough playmate driving throughout the lineup. And if
Yeah.
Frost is in third line center, that's all I kept thinking about. I was like, okay, well then you move Tippett up, right? You
Yeah.
play Tippett with Farabee and Hayes, and then you put
Yeah.
TK with Lawton
He did a
and
couple
Yates,
different.
maybe.
You did a couple different looks in the third. Like he went Farabee, Tippett, Hayes. Then he went Tippett, Hayes, Konechny. Then he went Konechny, Lawton, Cates, and then he went like Farabee, Lawton, Cates. I think it's going to be more of a revolving door. But I agree with Tippett. Like he his game got better as it went along. Skated like really well, and that's the real noticeable thing with him. He has wheels. What's impressive for me is like he makes a lot of really good defensive plays. Like there's a lot of plays where like there was turnovers and like somebody has to get
Yeah,
back to close
dude.
the guy out, and
Strong.
he's on it. He's on
That
it, and
back
he closes
check.
the guy out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that back
he's good
check.
with the
Yeah.
back check. He's good with the back check. He's good with the stick. He's not making like any like big turnovers or mistakes or anything like that. That's what you want from a young guy. And I mean, Tortorella, I think, has definitely been impressed with like the defensive side for him because that's probably not something that he's really noted for. So he's probably that's a welcome surprise. Obviously, I'm imagining. And then the offensive side of things, it's just the fact that he can actually carry the puck through the neutral zone and make zone entries because other than Travis Konechny, Kevin Hayes, and Farabee, and maybe to an extent Scott Lawton, but he's not really great with the zone entry sometimes.
He's not.
Like there's
He's,
there's really about four guys that can make them, and Tippett's like was the major player last night. Him and
that's why
Konechny of
Frost is
actually
sitting.
having a guy that can
Frost
carry
supposed
the
to be able
puck.
to.
Yeah, you saw Tippett. He can speed into the neutral zone, make a move around a couple guys, and then get it in,
Well,
and then forecheck begins. But if you have nobody that can do that, and that's what you loved with Jake Voracek so much that he was
yeah.
great at,
I
right?
know
And
we
like,
bring it up here all the time.
yeah, like you need a guy that can get in the zone,
And Drew, he's gone too now.
even if sometimes he overpasses, it's invaluable to be able actually to get into the offensive zone. The Flyers lack those guys. I think Tippett, it's a good sign to see the fact that he is one of the key players in terms of actually bringing the puck into the end and just creating opportunities. He had a lot of chances and he had a really good goal. So I think we're going to see even more from him, I would say.
Yeah, it was a tough shot. It was a kind of a bad goal on Samsonov, but
He placed it really well.
yeah, it was a tough shot to get off. And I think
Yeah,
that's why
exactly.
it ended up going Samsonov. I think got off quicker than
Unexpected.
anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was kind of like off his heel,
Yeah.
so like is a little. You know what I mean? It's like a little understandable that you kind of gave it the bad goal because you're probably not even ready for the shot at the time. Yeah, so Tippett, I'm really happy with. Here's the one thing I do want to make clear because it's going to be forgotten as we move forward, especially through the early part of the year. And you and I have been talking about this before the season started, and we get excited when the Flyers do well. We criticize when they do poorly, but we did say, okay, that expect this to be an up and down road. And and we said this in the offseason, what you really want is the team to kind of do well, watch them work things out. And then as the season goes on, get better. Now, we didn't know that they were going to be missing this much talent. Okay.
No, yeah.
They're in the 20-some million in the
I know. Yeah, I was going to, that was something I wanted to bring up actually. Like now that you mentioned that, I think it's what Couturier, Atkinson, JVR.
I had it here at the end, but we can bring it up now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Trying to find it here. Yeah. Couturier, JVR, Ryan Ellis, Atkinson. So literally 26.875 million.
Brown and Bobby Brink.
Yeah, Brown and Bobby Brink. So yeah, 26.875 million on LTIR or IR. So like that can't be good. Like imagine if you right now you had 26 million added to this lineup. They could use I think 26 million.
Well, that's what I think people should realize, that there's 26 million dollars missing from this lineup.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not the worst technically, like in terms of the results so far.
I will say this. This is what I was talking about and not having Sean Couturier. When you don't have a legitimate number one center,
the matchups are off.
It's every night.
Let's be real, man. Kevin Hayes he's not a first liner. He's a really good second line center.
Why the hell are you not a first line center? What is wrong, Hayes?
Yeah, it's not his fault. But realistically,
my thing is fault.
Yeah, but realistically, it just sucks because for him, he's got to match up against the top D pairs. He's got to match up against the best teams' lines.
I think Tortorella is going after Kevin Hayes.
Yeah, of course. He's trying to push more from him. But there's just only so much you can eventually do, right? Like,
I've seen Kevin Hayes play better defense than he has played so far this season.
100%.
When he first came here playing for AV, he played better defense.
Yeah, I know. Did
he coach under Torts, or did he showed up right as Torts left? Right.
Yeah, never got coached by Torts. Right. It was just AV, but I mean, it's just the thing is the matchups are all out of whack. Like you're saying, you take away a Couturier. It's just you have guys that probably shouldn't be matching up against first lines on a nightly basis, and then they just
Ottawa's getting spanked right now. By the way, 5-1.
That's
like the only goal.
They haven't had a good start. I don't know. What's going on there? Everybody thought
it's almost like going out and just adding players doesn't work.
Always work. Yeah, not always. Unless you already have a really good team.
It's a lie. What the reality of probably what they're going through right now is they added a bunch of new players. They're building chemistry. Like they're probably gonna be a team that gets better in the second half.
Yeah,
right.
But
realistically,
I just think I would definitely agree with Ottawa. Like I think they'll get better. It's interesting with that team just because they added a lot of offensive firepower, but they're not scoring a lot. So
it seems like a chemistry thing. That's all.
It's possible. I think for the Flyers, man, like we
need a center.
Yeah, pretty much. Like we were even talking off the air, just like even having a Nisimov would be a good thing. He might not be the best, but like it's someone you could throw out there that's playing the NHL, has experience.
Yeah, I really liked him back in the day.
And really something to try.
Look, I'm really not opposed to that, but I don't know if the Flyers won't be looking for an opportunity to bring in another center here. Like I know we have Jay O'Brien, who's look, there's center spots open here. So maybe a guy like Jay O'Brien was considering going as free agency. Now is looking, he's like, there's spots open there.
You should have just brought in Dylan Strome. I've been beating that drum the whole offseason. I think they had a perfect opportunity to sign him. It would have been pretty useful right now, I would say.
Yeah,
at least you have two centers that are top six forwards, right? That you could arguably say.
100%. I mean, I get that Frost was supposed to be that guy. He hasn't done that.
Maybe it turns around, right? Never know.
But we're just weak at center in general, and I'm glad we have Scott Lawton. I'm glad we have Noah Cates. But again, we're talking about play driving.
You need more.
Your center position is so goddamn important.
Yeah.
It is arguably the most important role in your team outside of a number one defenseman and a goaltender.
Yeah.
And I would argue maybe he is just as important as both of those positions.
Yeah.
I would say a number one center is more important than number one defenseman.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I
Yeah.
no, I you know what? Thinking about it right now, I would say it's the most important position on your team.
Yeah, you need a guy that can constantly put up points, but also be good on the defensive matchups, and just somebody
Drive
that
an
you can,
entire
yeah,
line.
you can rely on a nightly basis, right? Like the
Yeah, in all
Flyers thing. The
situations.
thing is right now, like this is the problem with the Flyers is what I'm seeing right now is that if they have about four guys that I'd classify as legitimate top six forwards or close to it. First off, that's not good enough. But second off, and the injuries contribute to that, right? Like you get Couturier in there,
It's
you get
huge.
Atkinson in there, you get JVR in there. That's three more guys that can score
It's
goals
an
for you.
entire line.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So like that plays into it, but they only have four guys that can do that really, or that can really contribute on a nightly basis. I think so. If those guys are cold on one night, who else is going to do it? And like that's the problem, right? And I think that's what Tortorella is trying to figure out is if my top guys are not out or not playing to their capabilities because it's an 82 game season, not everybody's gonna have their best game every night. Like who's going to step up and do it? Like
Zach
that's what he's
McEwen, dude.
challenging. He's challenging Frost for that. He's challenging Bellows.
Yeah.
He wants to get some of these young guys to step up. That's what it's gonna have to be. If you don't get Couturier and Atkinson back at any point soon, like it's gonna be sink and swim with the younger guys. If they get on a roll and figure it out and start to get some swagger with their game, like I mean, you could see the team be a lot more competitive. If not, I mean, we might see more of the same where they're just
I
overmatched in certain
I think
aspects.
I think even with I don't think you can really think about Couturier or Atkinson, either one at this point. You really have to think like, okay, either I'm gonna try to solve this problem in season,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna try to just wait for the off season, see where the draft is, see where the
See
team
you,
turns
yeah.
out.
See
But
what see what players perform who
I
don't who doesn't. Yeah.
I guarantee the Flyers are open to looking for a trade for a center. I don't know
Yeah,
what they're looking to
I could
give
see it.
up, but you look, there is no you have to be strong down the middle to be a Stanley Cup contender. You
Yeah,
have to be. We can't have too many of them. We can't do it. You can't have too many centers. It's not possible.
I
We
agree.
move them to the wing. That's like the worst thing. They're really good wingers then. Great.
Yeah,
So I think that is some Flyers need to fix. So let's talk about the best winger right now on the team. And
yeah,
I think hands down it's been TK. I think he has been the driving force behind the offense, even though Kevin Hayes has more assists. I think maybe that's not even true anymore, but I will say Travis Konechny is everything he needed to be.
yeah,
He's on a point per game pace. He has been the most dangerous player on the Flyers, and I think he's coming into his own. And I think he is like an all-star caliber player. The only problem is we're just not playing a very high-end offensive game, and I don't know what kind of numbers he's going to put up, on a team that's having trouble driving play
yeah.
outside of him, because eventually teams are just going to focus on him.
Exactly. And then it's going to be tough to come by. I just think with his game, I mean, what's not to like? First off, he's adapting really well to the penalty kill. Like he looks good. His stick
Yep.
positioning is good. He's anticipating really well. Just playing in every situation. They're giving him that opportunity. I've kind of went back to it. Like in junior, that's the type of player he was. He had every opportunity. Was a captain. Played every situation for his team. The Flyers are finally giving him that chance to do that here, and I think he's really taking you know a good chunk into it with his start to the season. Like he's been great. He's been everything they could have asked for, right? Based off a season
Yep.
where people were really criticizing him last season. So 11 points in 10 games, leading goal scorer. I think we can all agree he's probably been their best forward so far. And then
Easily.
he tallied his fifth
Dynamic.
multi. Yeah, dynamic, just the skating, right? Like the hustle's there. He looks like he's in great shape, but
The hands have
he's
been there.
tallied. Yeah, he's tallied his fifth multi-point game of the season with 2 assists last night. So 5 multi-point games. There's only been what, like 9 games, 10 games.
10 games.
Yeah, 10 games. So he has 5 multi-point games in only 10 games. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
that's a really good stat. So
it,
like he's playing really well. Like you can't really ask for much more. The one thing and what the bright spot is for me, it's not even the goal scoring, it's just the fact, like I was saying with Tippett, he's one of the only guys that can actively just have the puck and carry it in and make a move and not lose it and sustain a zone entry and
yep.
get them started in the ozone. And like they're gonna need that from him because if he doesn't continue doing that, who else is gonna do it?
Well, let's hope Frost can get his shit together
Yeah.
because I don't know. I don't know.
What do you think
Frost
about
got.
TK?
I mean, I think TK is what I think he is on his way to being. This is what I've said. I mean, he's
Yeah,
25. He's now entering his prime. I don't know what
I
all that
agree. Yeah,
nonsense.
He is
Again,
entering
I
his
still
prime.
don't
Yeah.
understand where any of that comes from. I don't understand what data you're looking at. Completely lost to me. So
Yeah.
right now he should be entering his prime. It makes sense. Same thing with Provorov. I want to talk about him next. I think he's been maybe the most consistent flyer
Yeah.
outside of Carter Hart. And TK, I think it's fantastic. And you got to look, like, we already forgot he was benched. Like the
Yeah, I
guy
know.
answered right, he played right,
Yeah.
he responded right.
He's doing it all.
Even
Yeah.
him trying to go after Austin Matthews and get tackled, it's just like,
Kudos on that.
well,
He's showing his energy. He needs to be feisty to be effective, and that's
I'll be
he's getting in
honest with
people's
you.
faces.
I'll be honest with you. Like, I won't be surprised if he gets the A next. You know what
Yeah,
I
I could
mean?
see it. Yeah, I could
Like,
see
if
it
he
for
gets
sure.
the second A on the team.
I could definitely see it because I mean I think if you look at Tortorella and what he's looking for, I think Connect's probably responded
Look at the way he responded to being
exactly how he.
benched. How
Yeah,
he
that
said
too, but just
publicly.
just the expectation. Like I feel like Tortorella probably set a standard for him and a precedent. Like I need you to be one of our best because we don't
Right.
have a lot that's going on, and he's come to that bell, right? Like he's come to that challenge. So
That's my point about Frost, is that yes, everybody's treated the same, but the expectations are different depending on your role to the team. And Frost, you have a very important role, and you're not acting like your job is important. You're acting like you can skate by with all the other bottom six forwards. No, your expectations are actually to be a top power play guy on this team.
Drive offense, create scoring chances,
which is more difficult than just playing a physical. I mean, it's not. It's more difficult in the sense that you have to be more creative. You have to take more risks. You know what I mean? And he hasn't been doing that. And I want to see him do that. Let's talk about Provorov next, though. And while I kind of criticize D'Angelo, and I think D'Angelo's ice time is also a consequence of what the Flyers have going on right now, where there's just not enough playmakers. So they're overusing D'Angelo to an extent. I think D'Angelo was awesome up until the Leafs game. Thought he was, again, okay against the Rangers. I think he's been very good. But I think Provorov overall has just been super goddamn stable.
Very reliant
in his mode, and I'm waiting for the Flyers to pick it up because his offense will pick it up with the rest of the team. The forwards right now are really limiting the defensive offense, but it's not so much that it's the forwards are responsible or the defense. It's more the way the team is playing, just limiting everybody's offense.
Yeah, because you're not in the zone offensively, so how are you going to score any goals, basically?
There's more offense to this team. They can be better even with the talent that they have.
Yeah.
They won't hit very high offensively. It's just not possible, but they can still be better.
Well, yeah, it just stems like we're saying, right? Just like get in the ozone. Once you're forechecking, at that point you wear a team down. Maybe then on your next shift, you get in behind them and you create something, and they just haven't been doing that. But to touch on Provorov, I mean, he's been everything they've needed, right? Like showing that he's back to his form of being that number one guy, being that reliable guy that you can count on every situation, every circumstance.
You can tell the man loves playing D.
Oh yeah, he definitely
like defense.
I've noticed this season far more than other seasons that just his ability to close out on a guy and separate them from the puck quickly, like he's all over guys.
Dude, I don't think people are realizing how well he's playing.
He's playing really good.
Well, it sucks because you watch, like, he'll make a great play and then nobody's there
to help him to get the puck out. Yeah,
it's like, and then the other team. This is what's been happening the past few games. That's why I'm so annoyed watching them play, because I'm like, okay, somebody will make a great play. One of the Flyers players,
and the support's not there,
and the support around is not there. The other team will get the puck from there, and then they'll just keep cycling. I'm like, all right, then this is wasted energy almost.
Yeah.
So then now you have to conserve your energy, and then you're sitting in the zone, and then you're boxing them out.
Torts touched on it. He said, we're not playing the right way in our own end. We're not being assertive enough on clears, and it's true. Like there's been so many failed opportunities.
Oh my god. So these are not talent-based problems. This is why I am annoyed. The talent-based stuff is like not getting enough shots on net.
Yeah.
Okay. Agreed.
But the defensive stuff they can clean up.
Yes. You don't need to be giving up 50 shots a game.
No.
Like that's not that's not because your offense isn't there.
No, well the thing is
that's your structure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's your structure and just being able to transition properly, right? Which that's been plaguing them the last two seasons. They haven't been able to get out of their own end. And it's kind of rearing its head as another trend again. Yes. And that's something, I mean, I think that's the main priority for Tortorella, is just cut the shots against down. minimize the time in their own end, because he even addressed that, like, when I asked him that question exactly, like, are you looking to minimize your shots and how you're going to do that? He's just said being assertive, but also just understanding that, okay, even if, we don't need to look for the home run play, but we just need to get in their end and just hold it there for a little bit, because if we're literally giving the other team so much sustained time, like, what are we going to be able to do in terms of scoring any goals? Like, it has to turn around. It has to flip for them. I think it's just understanding, the differences between live to fight another day, but do it in a way that you actually have like have a way to get back in on the forecheck and actually create some more scoring opportunities later. You don't have to always forecheck for a goal every time, but just get in their end in some sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Totally agree. And I hope the Flyers can clean up their game, because I'm not so much upset that they lost. It's more just I don't like that sloppy
the way
nonsense.
It's happening. The way
Yeah,
it's
like
happening. Yeah.
I'm much happier with that 4-3 loss to the Canes, where I'm like, okay, that's how I expect us to lose.
So interesting stat. Yeah, interesting stat I want to bring up before we kind of dive into next topic. This is from Jordan Hall. Tweeted this out. So kudos to him. But third fewest goals allowed per game is what the Flyers are right now in terms of goals allowed. So they're at 2.44. So that's the third fewest goals allowed per game in the league. And then third most shots allowed per game, 35.9. That's a very interesting parallel. And I kind of want to bring it up because I'm wondering, like, they kind of go hand in hand, right? You have the third fewest goals allowed per game, which is very impressive. But you're also allowing the third most shots. So which one is falling, which one's going to break first, because I don't think they can keep both those up consistently in those categories.
Okay, so while I do think the Flyers have been playing poorly defensively in those games, are giving up a lot of shots, the one thing they have been doing, which they default to, which is part of the problem, and we mentioned this in our text the other day, is that they are allowing shots mostly from the outside,
which is good. Yeah,
high volume, and now they are giving up solid, great opportunities too. I'm not an idiot. But a lot of those shots are from the outside. The Flyers are over-relying on that because they're scared to make a mistake. So they're like, okay, well, let me just keep them on the outside, and then they just allow the team to work them for an entire minute.
And then eventually they get to the inside.
Exactly. So they are getting a lot of shots on the outside, and then eventually they get a high-danger chance, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what the Flyers are doing, and I think that's why and with the way Carter Hart's playing, it's like, okay, even though they get a high danger chance, he's just stopping it because he's that goddamn good. But they are limiting in comparison to last year. I would argue both second periods lately just absolutely horrendous, and we saw them do that 1.2 earlier in the year. I can't remember exactly, but they do have these long breakdowns where they just can't play D as a team.
Yeah,
they got to fix that.
Yeah, it's not good, and I mean, I just think it's a good thing that you're boxing out and allowing chances from the outside. That's fine, because that's what you want to ultimately do, is keep a team when they're in your zone to the outside. So that's a good thing. It's just if like, as a goalie, like, you just can't keep allowing them to face 35 plus shots a game, because eventually they're just gonna have a bad game and you're gonna get blown out, and then the confidence spirals from there, right? So they just gotta 100%. find a way to clean it up. But I just thought that was an interesting stat to kind of mention.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Let's talk about you. So you pulled this stat up too for special teams. I think we should talk about this. Yeah. Flyers are 22nd in power play with 18.9% and 16th in the league with in the PK with 79.4%. Obviously, special teams were a humongous weakness last year. This year, they're kind of around the middle of the pack. Not too bad. We'll see how they're trending. Again, missing some key players there. It's going to hurt some, especially, no JVR, no Atkinson, no Couturier on that power play is definitely going to hurt, and subsequently hurting the penalty kill without Couturier and Atkinson as well. But I think still an improvement all around so far, and I think if we get some more bodies and potentially if the team starts playing better, I think, hovering around, middle of the pack is a win regardless. So I do think that's a big reason why we're not getting blown out. It's just the special teams are not an utter disaster on a nightly basis.
I think that's definitely spot on. You're even. I mean, I think it goes back to the coaching, because obviously Bradshaw is really good PK coach, and Rocky Thompson looks like
last year.
Yeah, because the personnel's almost essentially the same, and you could argue it's even worse.
No. Hold on. Actually, let me say this wrong because I've been thinking about this. A lot of people who are saying that this is the same as last year.
No.
We had a better team on paper last year.
Exactly. Yeah.
Considerably better on paper, and the results are still just as good, if not better, right now.
You just mentioned it, right? Like you're missing Couturier and Atkinson on the PK, and your PK is still.
We had Claude Giroux last year too.
I know. Yeah. It's crazy. So you're missing all those guys technically from this PK, and they're still doing good. And you got a guy in connecting who's never even played on the PK before, killing it. So I mean, that's a good sign. The positive really is like 22nd on the power play. You were last in the league last season, so they're already up.
It was better until JVR got hurt too.
Yeah. That's the thing. It dropped a couple spots. It was around 15th last week, but I mean, you're up 10 spots already. So like, I think anything for the power play, any incremental bump from last is probably a win in their eyes at this point.
I'd like to see them trend, and I'd like to see them. I'd like them stay around 15 this year. Would be really nice, but we'll see.
Need some guys back. They need some guys back. Right?
When Tippett took that deflected shot to the face.
Yeah, I was.
We didn't. I was like, oh, why not?
Breath.
Just keep hitting us. At this point, look, I'll say this though, dude. I was looking at Adam Fantilli's numbers, and that guy is ranked 3, which obviously I have no idea. There are 3 generational players in this draft.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is the year to suck. I'll make it very clear. If the Flyers are going to be stopped by health,
this would be it. This would be the year for it. Yeah.
For the love of God, at least reward us with one of these franchise caliber players.
Then I mean, the center depth problem at that point is almost not addressed. But I mean, you got Gauthier and another really good center like a Fantilli in there, and well, that's looking good for the future. But yeah. So like the power play, right? Like they're up 10, penalty kill 16th. They were 29th last year, so like almost night and day better. I mean, Brad Shaw's systems you can see are really taking an effect. Just the way they box the diamond out in the middle of the zone. So like what I notice is they're very aggressive on the blue lines and teams on their entry, so they kind of stand them up there, which is I mean a key to a really good power or penalty kill in today's NHL. But then when teams are kind of rotating around the hash marks and kind of passing back and forth to each other, trying to create opportunities, you see a lot of the Flyers forwards at the top. They rotate in and rotate out. So they rotate in, they take a lane away, then they cover for each other back, and then you still keep your diamond form and box out, but then you're still being aggressive. So like you're like, oh, like you want to pass it? Oh, let me rotate in with him, so I'm kind of in the lane, so you think twice about passing it. But let me also stay in my diamond, so I don't just leave the guy over there open. Which their positioning last year on the power play, to be frank, was shit. So like their positioning is way better. That's totally coaching because it's like you said, even worse probably power play or power penalty killers than you had in previous years. It's encouraging just the power play penalty kill because in the NHL, I think it's just so important right now to be like a decent team. If your special teams are bad, you're most likely also very bad. So the fact that you see it much improved from last year is a good sign. If they can hover around middle of the pack, I mean that bodes well for them just staying competitive in a lot of games that maybe they wouldn't otherwise have been if their special teams was trash.
Yeah. Yeah, it's night and day, and you're right. It's probably been the biggest difference maker between this year and last year so far. Yeah. Is that just the penalty kill is not a complete goal.
Well, you're not letting a goal in every time you take a penalty.
It was. I mean, we're still not even doing that great, and it's still that much better than last year.
Yeah,
and we're not talking about the fact that Bobby Brink is not playing. I think you talk about an element this team is missing. That's another guy
that could be useful,
and we could. And again, he's like NHL age. Maybe he would have played for the Phantoms this year. It's definitely possible. He is a tenacious player, much more tenacious than a Frost.
I think we might see him still. Like he's supposed to come back right around January or something. Yeah. So like I wouldn't be surprised to see like a longer stint with the Phantoms than if he's doing well. Maybe
I think. Look, I think that's like a. I think there's reason to believe that he could, but just with the hip surgery and
you want to see him get back to full health. Yeah.
I just don't know if they're gonna rush it with him. But the skill. You're absolutely right. I mean, he has it. It's a shame, dude. I don't think people realize the level of
injuries.
Oh my god, the fact that Tortorella had us like even in first place with the amount of injuries we have.
It's crazy.
I do want to say this for those who don't recognize how good Fantilli is, because I didn't really recognize this until recently. Because we know that Bedard is generational. We know Michikov is generational, and I'm seeing all of a sudden Fantilli. I saw Fantilli rated higher than Bedard by somebody, and I doubt that that's still the case. But I want to point this out: Adam Fantilli is 17 years old. He plays for the University of Michigan, right? He does have a great team. Sam Skevich is second on the team in points, and he's 19 years old, right?
Like, we wanted him in that Tippett
right?
Package.
Exactly. Rutger McGarty, like they have Dylan Duke, Samus Casey,
they have a good team.
Luke Hughes, and they have TJ Hughes. So they obviously have a good team here. Adam Fantilli is 17 years old. He's the youngest one on the team. This is a college team. He's 17. In 8 games, he has 8 goals, 10 assists, plus 10. 12 penalty minutes.
Yeah,
he's 6'2", 191 pounds. He's 17 playing college hockey and dominating. I don't know how good this kid is right now. People should.
He's only going to get better too.
That is a generational pace at 17 years old.
He's only going to get better.
It's better than Jack Hughes. It's better than what's his name? Jack Eichel. It's definitely at least Austin Matthews level dominant, and I would say more.
Yeah, I'd agree because he's playing basically amongst guys that are much older than him.
Yeah,
putting up that pace.
He's
in a competitive division as well. Dude, but still, he's in a competitive division. Yeah,
8 goals in 8 games. Now this team is really good, obviously, but he's the best player on it. Give him
credit.
Yeah, he's the best player on it.
Which is something to say for sure, man.
So
yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, if you're in the bottom 3 and you have a chance at Michkov, Bedard, Fantilli, no order there. I mean, we probably already know Bedard's going to be 1. But 2 and 3 could be up in the air with the way Fantilli's playing. It's interesting, man. I like those guys. That might be the next crop of like, whoa, this is like.
I think inevitably this is it. This is the next wave that's going to change the NHL. It happens all the time. Yeah. I mean, it happens.
Like you had Matthews, McDavid come in, and now it's going to kind of be these guys.
Exactly. They just all happen to happen. It doesn't normally happen in the same draft.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Even when the hell, dude? I've never seen 3 generational talents at the top of a draft.
No, I think the only reminiscent was probably Ovechkin and Malkin. Yeah, I was about to say that. Other than that, though, not too many.
Eichel McDavid.
Matt, yeah, I guess, yeah. That's true.
That's it. What was the other? Matthews and... No, it was Laine. Laine's a great player, but he's not...
But he's not generational.
No. Like, literally, it's Malkin Ovechkin.
Pretty much.
That's the last time we've seen anything like that.
That was 2000... That was 2003 or 2000... Yeah. That was 2004 draft, yeah.
This is 3.
Yeah, that's
one
crazy.
More.
It's crazy, man. That's it. It bodes well for the NHL and just the game because the more dynamic players, the more people are going to want to watch. That's my opinion. Just to end off, I think Yariv. I mean, I don't know if you had any more topics, but I was just wanting to.
We have our 2 comments to read on our video.
Oh yeah, the comments. Yeah. Okay, cool. So
no, go ahead.
Last type of topic here. Basically, just what's the most important thing for the Flyers to try to keep things competitive? Do you think it's just the younger guys kind of needing to step up? Because that's my opinion right now. I think we've kind of looked at the team being resilient in being down in games. I want to see individual player resilience to just the way Tortorella's handling things. Like Wade Allison is in the doghouse clearly. How's he going to respond? Morgan Frost in the doghouse, clearly. How is he going to respond? Now, Lazinski, I think that's the most important thing. Those 3 guys there, I'm interested. I think them responding positively will help keep them very competitive.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think just this is part of the process. I don't see anything crazy. I don't see any reason to think that I was off base by being excited. I'm seeing a team that is missing a ton of talent, being pushed by their coach.
Still competitive, though.
The one game they played terribly, we're talking about it. The other game, they didn't play well. They lost 1-0. They lost overtime. These are all good teams. They were outmatched in these teams, and they're playing hard. I think that they are capable of still playing better. I truly believe if these injuries are going to happen, it doesn't really matter. The Flyers are going to start trading away assets anyway because
I agree.
You're not. I think the one thing
building for this year.
I mean, I do think you're trying to figure out who doesn't fit here.
Yeah, 100%.
Like JVR is gonna be traded regardless.
Yeah,
whether he plays well or not. He knows that he's on the last. We're not resigning him.
No,
right?
yeah,
We're not going to. We're not. We don't need JVR. I mean, we like it. We need him now, right now, but like we don't need him going into next year.
not as a building. He's not a piece of the future.
I mean,
really.
I guarantee they like him more than we think, like in the locker room and all that.
Yeah, but the team realizes asset management.
He's obviously
a great guy. Team realizes asset management, right? Like you might as well trade him, get some assets, and then go from there.
Well, we know what we need on this team, which is play drivers.
Yeah.
So
and he's not, unfortunately, one of those guys, really.
I think 5-on-5. I think I was a little critical of people saying this Frost I don't know if you're looking for tools and you're trying to move stuff. Like I think there is going to be a point this year the Flyers are going to be like, all right, well we're trying to figure out what this team is. If they're at the bottom of the league in that bottom 5, I mean, look at the gold mine at the top of that draft. The Flyers will start shedding salary. They will walk out away from the draft. They will let Tortorella do what he's doing. That does not change. He still has to make everybody here the best player they can be. So they're not turning the entire roster around. But the goal is right now to fix what's broken. And honestly,
it's
keep going. Keep going.
Here. Yeah. Good signs. Yeah.
Well, to your point, I know a lot of people want to be like, oh, this team is what they are, right? But that's not true. If Tippett continues to improve, like who knows? Look at the way like Thompson turned out last year. Like you have to look at players progressing throughout the year. A guy like Farabee, like these guys still have a bunch of room to grow.
Yeah,
so
exactly. This
team might not be at the bottom of the league too, and that might piss me off. But if the young guys, to Vasili's point, are leading that, it's a very different conversation than they're barely holding on because Kevin Hayes has 80 points, which is still a good thing. But we would try to trade him potentially.
Yeah, literally, it's a building block thing, right? Like you're saying, like they're not really aiming for playoffs or aiming really for like a year where we got to contend, we got to have success, but it's more just can these young guys improve, and then we know what we have, and then there's just more clarity going into.
Look at the Bruins, dude.
Yeah, there's just more clarity going into an off season where you're gonna have a good amount of cap space. You could get a really good pick, and then things start to shape, right? So like we kind of said in the off season, right? It's a building year to kind of evaluate and. There's positives, right? Because we saw last season, and kind of I guess we can end and go to the comments off this, but pretty much we saw last season that what was the main thing that we did not like is the team looked like they quit, they give up, they wouldn't try. That's the least thing from true this season because they look like they're working hard every game and they're giving effort. And I mean, even if they're not going to win a lot of games and some of the games aren't going to be fun to watch and they're going to be ugly because maybe they're getting outworked in certain situations, but they're still trying. And I think that's what was really missing, right? The try wasn't always there, I don't think.
These 10 games have been so much more vastly interesting than last season. It's not even funny. Yeah, and the year before that. Like, if you just want to go off the eye test, forget the analytics and the stats, oh my God, I would watch this team 10 out of 10 times over the team we watched under AV. That was a nightmare to watch that team play. I could barely watch them play. Everybody knows what we're talking about. It was the second period of these games all throughout the game. Every game. Yeah. Fuck that. All right. Let's get to our last. There's not a lot of comments on this latest video, but guys, let's be honest. Let's be honest here. The Phillies in the World Series, like right now while we're recording,
you're all watching
the Phillies are playing. Yeah. The Phillies are playing and the Eagles are playing. So it is what it is, guys. Yeah. But let's go to the two we have here.
We'll still be here though, weekly nonetheless.
So yeah. I just so you guys are knowing, I'm watching the Flyers upstairs. I give my roommates the TV to watch the Phillies, and I'm switching back to the Phillies when the Flyers game's being paused. For everybody else that covers this team that's watching the Phillies first, no. Still Flyers first. And I'm watching the Phillies.
I'm watching the Flyers as well.
Yeah. My love for the Flyers is not, there's no championship that's going to get in the way of that. So top one here, Vasili, I hear you asking solid questions to the coach after the game. Nice work, brother. So this was actually written yesterday, obviously.
Damn, well,
I saw this being written.
Appreciate it.
People recognize your voice, dog. I did, obviously, immediately. It was awesome, dude. It's always awesome to see.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool, and I mean, hopefully more for you guys in the future. Hopefully get to a couple more games, even out in Buffalo, things like that. So it'll be a good time.
Totally. And then by Eric, they only had one really bad game was the Sharks. Agreed. That was awful, but I do
Yeah.
think that they had a really bad game against the Leafs too. So let's make it.
Yeah, but you gotta
This
factor
was
in that
7
his
days ago.
comments from before. Yeah. So he was
Appreciate
right. He's
Eric, but
spot on.
they've added
Spot
to that
on.
list.
I know, unfortunately.
But it is important to remember, look, this is going to be an up and down thing. You will see the Flyers win a couple more games too. You will see them drop a couple more games. Look at this team on paper. You cannot deny that there are huge gaps at forward. Nobody was expecting these level of injuries coming into this year, and we could still have more. So be open to that. That there will be ebbs and flows.
But I think the main thing too to end on as well is just like you're saying, your ebbs and flows, but at least the game should be more competitive, and you're going to see a team that's working hard on a nightly basis. I think that's more entertaining for a fan's point of view and perspective to watch. You don't want to watch a team that just looks like they're lifeless out there, which they haven't been lifeless this season. They've been entertaining. So.
Like we were saying, you take on the personality of your leadership.
John Tortorella is that, yeah.
If Tortorella is behind that bench screaming, there's nobody sitting down relaxing. I promise you. Yeah. All right. Shout out to our sponsor before we end here. Just to Gym Steaks. They're still not open yet, but look out for it. I will announce when they're back open. But shout out to Gym Steaks. Keep them in your thoughts and memories. Vasili, what are you working on? What do you got going on? I know you just wrote that article yesterday, right, about the game, but you have more to come.
Yeah. So we're probably gonna get another one up this weekend, just to kind of like dissect the bounce back in the Ottawa game. And then also, I mean, first time you're going to see Claude Giroux play the Flyers, so that's going to be an interesting one. So I should have something up kind of most likely after that game, kind of just dissecting things. So keep an eye out, and just thanks to everybody for all the support, because without you guys supporting us and just like continuing to stick with us through our coverage, all the stuff, we wouldn't be able to do like these cool things, like go to the draft, go to these games, bring this type of coverage. So it's all thanks to you guys, and hopefully more in the future, right?
Hell yeah, and I totally second that. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And I know right now it's Philly's time and all that. We're getting a hockey season. It's going to get more interesting. And if this team is at the bottom, oh my God, the draft talk here is going to be amazing. And just because I want to share this real quick, which I think people just need to see what Adam Fantilli's face looks like, just so people are aware that this is his. I love it. This is his picture for IMDb or Hockey DB, and hopefully this can be your future Flyer.
That's honestly fucking hilarious.
Yeah, he definitely did it on purpose. All right. Again, thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everything. Please like, subscribe, share stuff out. Go and leave us a review on anything, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave us comments. All of that is extremely helpful. If you guys share it at all for us, also extremely helpful. Follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. Vasili and I, you can just find us by searching our names. Not really a problem.
That's a good point.
Yeah. We're easy to find. And again, thank you, everybody. We really love you guys. And we would not, just like Vasili was saying, we'd not be able to continue doing this without you. And it's awesome. It's awesome. And we noticed like that people are, aligning with what we're talking about and whatnot. But, enjoy the ride. And I think eventually we're going to start talking about like just good stuff all the time. It's all around the corner. It's on the horizon.
Feel it. The vibes are coming.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Thank you again. We love you. And remember, always stay